So hello everyone and welcome to the Global Healing Circle. Here we have again our core group and let's introduce ourselves. So Amos, you want to start?
Hi everyone, my name is Amos Campbell. I'm a master healer and the one and only Witch of Endor, and I run Health and Healing Solutions, a full spectrum healing practice in beautiful Peoria, Arizona.
Perfect. And Fotini?
Hello, my name is Fotini. I'm from Athens, Greece. I'm a shamanic practitioner and a Paco, and I'm available to all of you. And I'm very, very delighted to be here at the Global Healing Circle.
Thank you. And Christina?
Hi, everyone. I'm Christina Cece, and I am a holistic well-being coach, and I help women create the lives of their dreams through their mind, body, and soul.
And my name is Nora. I'm from Finland, and I am an energy healer and a spiritual life coach. So my job is basically help you to release something you don't need to carry anymore and start creating the life you truly want to live. And today we are talking about mediumship. And I know that this subject really can poke a lot of emotions. And we have here also different opinions about it. So I'm looking forward to see how this conversation goes. But basically, mediumship is something that we agree to talk about today. And who wants to start? What is mediumship?
Well, I'll start. In my point of view, mediumship is someone who goes between, someone has the ability to communicate with beings or spirit or another soul on another dimension, in another dimension, whatever that means to you and to the person who is acting as the medium. So that's kind of my definition of it and my experience with it.
Right.
And other definitions?
Well, my opinion of a medium is someone who stands between a person and their grief. But as someone who deals uniquely with grief in the healing sense, because in my opinion, every soul has a type of journey. So this is where I have a somewhat of a different split than your average person, but I'm not ruling anything out because I want to hear about the Ouija board.
Yeah, we are going to that later, definitely. And Fotini, what is your idea about mediumship? What is it?
Mediumship is a person who can communicate with the invisible realms and the visible realms at the same time and transfer messages from one, port to the other, or they're sending or receiving, could be both jobs as a medium. So you could be sending messages to the other world and receiving messages from the other world.
Very good point.
Yeah. And well, my definition is very, very similar to Fotini's and Christina's. I have to say, I don't have medium abilities. I'm not a medium, but as an energy healer, I get a lot of messages. And sometimes actually the people who are already passed away, they come to the treatment to help the healing. So I have seen this happening, and sometimes I get like very simple sentences that carry a lot of meaning to the clients I'm healing. But I wouldn't consider myself medium. I don't really have the channels all the time open. So the spirit world, I know that it exists and I know that they can communicate, but I am not tuned into that frequency yet, personally.
I'm on the same spectrum. I've always wanted, and I've been the person who's tried the most, and I was never able to get what you would expect a unique human soul or unique human consciousness to appear besides who's on the table. That's always been my experience. So I'm kind of on that spectrum.
Right. So let's talk about a little bit about the structure of the universe or oneness, or how do we want to see it? Like, how is it possible that someone can communicate with someone who is not here anymore? Christina, you want to go first?
Yeah, so in my experience and what I've learned is that we come from one source. And I'm taking this information from several different points of view. And we come from one source, which is consciousness. And this consciousness would like to, it only knows one thing, right? The I am. And when that consciousness wants to have, the earth was created, this 3D was created because it wanted to experience itself in other capacities, such as contrast, laughing, anger, happiness, anger, fear, love, the contrasts which are here in this earthly realm.
You mean duality?
The duality, exactly.
Yeah.
Wanted to experience duality. So created souls, or so-called souls, and this is what we incarnate as when we come to earth, being born as a human being in this third dimension. So that is really the basics. So we're actually always connected to each other because we come from this one source. If we're all connected, and you may even just experience this in your everyday life, we talk about telepathy being, just a thought of someone, and they'll pick up that thought because we are connected. And sometimes because we're in family or friendships or have some deeper connection, then we pick up that message and respond without even really knowing it. So if you've ever thought about someone, oh, I'd really like to speak to someone, and they call you on the phone, that's just proof that that's not random. That's we're all connected. So I think the basics to show how we can communicate to other realms or to other dimensions or realities, this doesn't stop beyond the 3D. This keeps on going through infinity. Did that make sense?
For me, it makes completely sense. I am from the same school of thought than you, I would say. So how is it then possible if a person here dies and goes back to the oneness, or goes, actually, Amos, where do the people go? You have some knowledge about this.
For argument's sake and for clear visualization purposes, I'll have everyone just go to the Google image search, and it's the precipitation cycle. So think of every individual soul as its own unique drop of water. And we all get dropped somewhere randomly. That is life. That is birth to life. And then when you die, you go back into the water table, which essentially goes into a quote river, which then goes back into the main ocean, which then, as you are in with all other water droplets, and then it is the process. There is a process of rising to the top where the light will bake and lighten you, and then you are risen back to the clouds, and then you are randomly dropped in a cyclical Ouroboros forever ending cycle like water. So think of every time you take a drink of water, those water droplets have passed through an average of 10 other humans, 4 dinosaurs, and at least 6 cavemen. So, and then the water droplets that are in your body will eventually pass through later on. Like the water on our planet is older than the sun itself. So I think the analogy here for everyone to wrap their mind around is water, just because this is very complicated. The Tibetan Book of the Dead is complicated. The Egyptian Book of the Dead is complicated. The reincarnation cycle, as dictated by the Dalai Lama, is a very difficult spell to pull off. And you have to have at least 3 master magicians who are willing to follow and observe a dead body 24 hours for up to 40 days. Like, it's super technical to make sure that you are reincarnated within 40 days. Otherwise, how long will it take said water droplet, once entering the river, to get to the source of the ocean, to then fully go through a process to rise to the top and go back through? We don't know. It could be a week. It could be 24 hours. It could be 7 million years before that, because that water droplet could get frozen in Arctic ice. Then what? Then what? You stuck. Exactly. So it's a very technical, complicated process, but I'm a psychic, a professional psychic, and I believe that like people like Tyler Henry and other people are doing incredible psychic feats. I'm not ruling out anyone's ability. I just think it might be misunderstood something. I relate everything to Braille because I'm what most people would consider an empath. I feel everything. I don't see things, I feel things. So grief, uniquely being an existential loss. You have lost something, brother, mother, friend, sister, twin, dog, something. You have lost something that you had. So you uniquely had something that you lost, and that is a solid thing. It's not like your identity, your makeup routine, your wardrobe. Those things change. You change, but your memories of the things that you loved don't, like the Fox and the Hound and grandma's cookies. Those things stay sacred in our minds. So they are uniquely protected, and they're very dense. It's like a very deep crease in the brain. And we don't like that to be restructured. So I think there are very good telepaths out there, very great mediums who are sitting between people and their grief and are able to read their grief memories. So it's exceptional feat of psychic ability, absolutely. But are they uniquely communicating with specific Sarah Jessica's soul who just passed? I don't know. I can't, but I know that I could read Stephanie's memory of Sarah Jessica, every single memory she's ever had, because she holds on to them. That's the easiest thing to grab in a person's mind, is their grief, in my opinion and in my experience.
Interesting. Thank you. How about Fotini? How do you see what's happening after we pass away from this 3D reality?
That's a very nice question. Actually, I do agree with the way the example Amos shared. We kind of go in a cyclical way. This is what I believe. So we come, we reincarnate, go through a phase, live at some point, and then going somewhere outside of space and time. So time is not in the same way that we are used to here. Time is something that we created here, and names of places and everything like this. One of my questions was, when we reincarnate, yes, we do take things from previous lifetimes with us, the things that have stayed as imprints. But what is the original, or what is the main one? And is there a main one, and then every time we are reproducing this thing as we are incarnating different times and in different places? For the Paco shamans, we choose the place that we're going to reincarnate. And what they usually use is a mountain, which is the tallest thing. As we come up from the stars, come down from the stars, we reach a point where we meet the top of a hill or a mountain or something. And this is where is our soul coming to first contact as we're reincarnating, which is very interesting. This is why they are having this as a very sacred, they have it as a very sacred place. It's the guardians, it's their, like the natural parents. And then from then on, you go on into your usual, into whatever it is that you're supposed to do in this lifetime, you know, go through the lessons, expressing gifts and stuff like that, and then leaving and going back into the stars, into the void, into God, into whatever somebody calls it, whatever the way we call it all over the world.
Interesting. Yeah, I don't know where my opinions come from. Like, I think partly they are like my inner wisdom, partly it's something that I read, and partly it's something I heard, but I kind of filtered everything through my heart and felt what resonates with me. And I definitely share this idea that we choose the time and the place and the people and the family where we incarnate, so that they can help us grow, because our job in this life, or in our lives in general, is to grow as people and get new experiences. And we are here to experience everything. So we have multiple lifetimes with different kind of settings, different kind of challenges that we went through. And then in this life, we carried something into this life that we have to solve, or multiple things that we have to solve in this life to be able to cut the karma and to go on. So we are kind of endlessly growing and evolving as beings. And then after this, we go and we evaluate how did we do this time, and then we kind of see, I could have done this better. Well, next time, and then we kind of make a plan for our next round here. And we usually also reincarnate with a bunch of people, soul families, so that they can help us grow, because we already have such a great bond from different lives. So in that way, I don't really share the idea of the randomness of the water example, because I think it's all more like a clock, happening, or like a machine, that we are just like putting ourselves in there in a certain moment, having the experience, coming out, and then again. Maybe like as the planets, how they move, they have a certain order. It looks random, but it's not. So that's something I think.
Interesting, because I listen to a lot of near-death experience stories since 2020. That was one of my go-tos to feel better and say there's got to be something more here. I've always been infatuated with it since I was a kid. But with all of, YouTube and podcasts and all of these stories just started coming out more and more and more. People are talking about it more and more and more. So I just heard a near-death experience story the other day where a woman passed away and she was ready to go. She was like, I'm not going back. Everybody's taken care of. I'm not going back. I want to stay here in this beautiful love and light and wherever she was. And basically there were these beings there that told her that she hasn't quite learned what she needed to learn and she can stay, but it wasn't quite a soul contract, but in her soul's discovery journey, that she will come back to Earth again, but her whole mind will be a clean slate. Everything will be a clean slate. So everything that she had learned in this life, to take her to the next level, she would have to start over again. So she was like, wait a second, I learned so much about myself in this life. And they were like, well, you can go back and take it from here and learn the lessons that you needed to learn in this life that you set for yourself. So it was very fascinating. She decided to come back for that reason. And I think she was dead for clinically dead for like 90 minutes. And it's one of these stories that, she was all over the place with this story. So it was really fascinating. But I think there's so many different experiences, and I've heard many different, and it's not based on religion, because there were Hindus who saw Jesus Christ and there were atheists who saw God. So it's not based on religion. There's something deeper. And I really feel it has to do with that core essence of who we truly are, that consciousness, that fragment from the consciousness of who we truly are.
I don't think people get too attached to the construct and not the spirit or the essence of what that construct represents. Like, I think those images are always good, instead of seeing an image of like what it really is. Like, show me what your true face is, and it's like 7,000 heads and whatever, but it's actually a good guy. Like, I get it, we get it. I think that's a good thing.
But let's go to the subject, like this mediumship. Do you have any experiences about that you have gotten a reading from a medium, you have maybe communicated with anyone who has been passed away, or that you have worked as a medium. Just bring it on.
Okay, I'm going to say and share my experience. As a shamanic practitioner, we learn how to do death rites. Not so much about to when the person is dying, because you really want to let them go into their own process, but as to people who have stayed in between states and they haven't really gone, or they're staying, or one part of them something happened and it stays in a place. It's not really moving. So that's why you might have haunted houses. So I remember a person came for a healing, and there was something I was hearing, like tuning into the radio, something. So we tuned at some point, and then I got a message. This guy was Greek. He was like 60 years old. He died of I don't know what. And then he said, the message he gave me, my name is something, this. And tell them I love them all. I did the death rites and then he left. I have no idea who these people were that he will love them all. I said, okay, I'm just going to say it to the universe because I have no idea. This guy, where does he live? Where was he from? Where was he going? His last name I didn't know. It's like, what is going on? Okay, I'm just doing my job. I think I'm doing it the best way that I can. And then, okay, I'm going to say to the universe, he loved you all. That was very, very funny, but at the same time, it can be very, very difficult when it comes to people who we kind of the client comes and there is grandmother, grandfather, or brother or sister, someone who's very close. That comes to a little bit more difficult way of, dealing and handling these things. But it's always very, very interesting to be in this mediumship state of being. I think shamans are more than just mediums. I'm sure Amos has.
Well, I don't rule it out, especially like within 40 days. If we're talking about someone who has passed within 40 days, I will not rule any of it out, because that's when I'm really actually interested. And in my opinion, that's when it's going to be most plausible for a unique human spirit, soul, consciousness to show up. That's not the person on your desk. Because in my experience as a healer, I come from healing grief. And this is from people who have had a loved one that has passed for more than 40 days. We're talking about 6 years plus, and they're still holding on. So there is a difference there, in which case a living person can hold on to you. That was something my master taught me, and we can trap people's essences in our energetic field. And it was a case where this person would not let this person go. They essentially swallowed this soul, and they also swallowed all of their bad juju with it. They became very aggressive, very angry, very short-tempered. They became a gambling alcoholic out of nowhere. Like within that 40 days, all of their bad habits, they were there. And we had to release that essence and all of the stuff that was attached to it. So I can't rule it out, because this person actively enveloped another person's consciousness because they refused to let them go. And it happens. This is a case of a mother losing her very young adult son. So this is a very difficult case, because that's the worst type of grief, is between a parent burying a child. That's the worst. So that's again a unique circumstance, because it's different, in my opinion, when you're working with like your dementia friend who, in my opinion, their soul was dying before they died. When you want to make sure that they get crossed over as fast and as healthily as possible, because they lost a lot of their faculties while they were alive. Because there's a lot of arguments and a lot of, depending on what philosophical, spiritual circles you read in, that's the real, true, scary thing, is that they say that dementia is the true death. That's the true soul death, and that's the true curse. And potentially the vision of when your soul's journey is done is when you get dementia. And then you truly go back to the void, to actual nothingness, because you can't even remember who you are. So don't know. I don't know. But I just know of what I've seen happen when we refuse to let that grief go or let that essence go. So, but I, again, deal with grief, not uniquely human souls up until I finish these books, in which case we're going to come up with a 40-day migration thing that a person who has just lost someone can go through to help them release and to help them cross over and be reincarnated safely and quickly.
So I have a question about, I have experienced souls coming to me, right? Not as a medium, but one of my ex-fiancés passed away and he came to me in a dream for a few times. We had been long broken up. I'm talking like 10 years. I don't feel like I was grieving at all. I mean, we were just friendly, but he would come to me in his dreams. And I don't know, in my dreams, sorry, he would come to me in my dreams. So just wondering if anyone else has experienced a loved one or someone coming to them, would you consider that somewhat of a mediumship?
Oh, fuck yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's extreme. And especially within 40 days.
Oh, no,
And yeah,
he was gone for probably 2 years.
find that fascinating.
Yeah. And it's, when I have these experiences in dreams, you can tell the difference between a dream and what is actually happening. And he would show himself to me in a form of himself, but then he would kind of jolt around the room in different, like light going around the room as I was laying in bed. And it was just really fascinating. And he would stop and he would look, and then he would go around the room again. And it was really interesting. And I could feel the energy. So
And I always ask, what's the message?
What?
I always ask, what's the message? Again, I take away the construct. What is the theme, or what is the construct what is the message trying to convey? Like, what was the message you got out of that?
Yeah, so I had just moved to California. I was going to culinary school, and I was in a new house with a roommate. It was my first night there. And just so happened that there was a bunch of things happening in Northern California. This was in Napa, Northern California. There were a lot of things astrologically happening and energetically happening. And my roommate said, just to let you know, some things are probably going to happen. So, and then he came through in my dream. Basically, he was telling me that everything is going to be okay, because he actually, at one moment, like held me and said, "You're going to be okay." And like he was bouncing around the room. Then the next moment he was holding me in bed saying everything's going to be okay. And like I said, we hadn't been in a relationship in probably 10 years. So
the message was that you needed some comfort and some time of change. Yeah. I think that's all a good thing.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. Because I'm going to circle back to Nora, because I'm on her side when it's like, I think we do get some type of say in it. And that seems to be the consensus here, especially with good old Dalai Lama, is that we do. We create a web, and that we are all somewhat tightly knit together, and it's a relearning, remembering process. So think of it like a tattoo. Even if you get it removed, there's always going to be a scar imprint. Yeah. Or when you write on paper, if you press hard enough, you can come back and lightly scooch over and you can see the imprint. Mm-hmm. So it's about remembering and unlearning. A lot of the stuff that we have to get through as adults is unlearning the unhealthy, negative stuff that we picked up from other places, and to remember the real, true, spiritual, essential things. And that's why I'm always brought back to these natural processes, because those are sort of the essence of the universe, is that these things mirror each other, but on just larger and larger and larger scales, like the soul cycle, the precipitation cycle, the solar cycle, and the universal cycle. I think they're all kind of images of a recycling system. I think it's on a Phoenix egg perpetual motion recycling system.
Great. And I wanted to share this one thing that I sense when there are dead people around. And I think they are the people who are like stuck, that they didn't know how to go to the light. And it came to me somewhere 2015, 2016, that few times it happened that I was extremely tired. Like I didn't know why I was that tired. And I felt really low energy. I didn't know how it's possible. And there is a very lovely stone shop in Helsinki, and the lady is very open for all kind of messages. And I went there. I was like, please tell me, like, why am I so tired? I just want to sleep all the time. And she just looked at me and she was like, oh yeah, you have been gathering some souls, like they are attached to you. And that happens when a person has a lot of light inside, that those souls, they get confused. They think that that's the place where they need to go. So they kind of like glue themselves into you. And slowly but surely, I started to realize when it happens to me, because I always had that same feeling of like really drained energy. And at that time, I actually lived next to an elderly house. And every time I saw that the flag was there in the middle bar, that, you know, like, oh my God, someone is dying again, I knew that they are gonna come. So I started to kind of like send them away, you know, like, thank you, but there is the light, you have to go there. And I got to control this, and I don't have this anymore because I notice when it happens. But the last really difficult time was when I was in Venice in Italy, and we all know that it's a historical city. There are a lot of stuff happening there and a lot of souls. And it was the time of the Carnival de Venezia, which is the time when you wear the costumes. And I was also wearing like a very old traditional costume. And yeah, and after that, like the next day or so, after walking around that city with that costume, I started to feel like super tired again. Like I basically was like sleeping. And then I realized like, oh yeah, like again, this thing. And I had to kind of like clean myself. So in that way, I truly have experienced that they are extremely physical when you have them around. And I don't have any grief, any attachment with those people. I don't know them. I don't know anything about them, but they still like get involved. And I also heal them from my clients. Sometimes there are attachments. Sometimes they are like souls that they have had past relationships with, that they are already passed away or from previous lives. But also very often just same way that those people have kind of like gathered them and carrying them around. So I don't know. Any thoughts about this phenomenon? Have you experienced it?
One of the things that I know is that when people who have passed away, they see that, you know, they kind of see someone who's practicing something. They think that he might knows how to send them away. I had a lesson over the weekend with my teacher from Peru, and she was saying that the way that they send off people, because they can see them there, and they have this very special ropes that they gather them, and they bring them to a special fire, and then from the fire they can go up. So it's a way to liberate them. It's very easy for people, besides the attraction that I might have to this person, like let's say a relative, family, somebody, close friend, or somebody could be very easily attached to someone. But also there is this issue that I think we should all, as healers, learn how to do death rites in order to help ourselves and protect ourselves from something like this.
Absolutely.
Perfect. No more comments. Right. Okay, let's go to the most interesting part of this conversation, and it's this, how do you pronounce it?
Ouija board.
Ouija board. So let's go to the Ouija board, the most interesting subject of today. So I understood that, Christina, you read an article about that.
I did. This article was from the Smithsonian, Institute, there's Smithsonian magazine. So I was really interested in where the Ouija board came from. And I just really never knew about it. I just have heard, and I'm sure you all have heard this, that, as spiritual beings and people who are psychic or intuitive or working with energy, we're told a lot of the time that Ouija boards are bad energy and you should never do them. You should never play with them because that will bring in bad spirits. And I was like, I really want to know more on how this came about. So I looked it up. And basically, the Ouija board was created by a game company in the early 1900s, late 1800s, I'll say that, late 1800s. And it was based on, during that time, people were really into spiritualism. And communicating with the dead was very common. Very common. People would have seances. There was a seance in the White House. There was, there was common thing, and it aligned with Christianity at that. So, and it came along, the Fox sisters from upstate New York were some of the original mediums who would write on walls. They were basically channeling spirits and, writing on walls to communicate. And so this spiritualism started, and this game was created based on the attraction of talking to the dead, to loved ones. Then as I read on more later on, people were, I can't remember when the date was, but I want to say in like the 50s and 60s, or it may have been in the 40s. Don't quote me on the dates, but there were a string of murders. And the murderers claimed that they were told to kill people based on what the Ouija board told them to do. So that already started this negative opinion and negative storyline about the Ouija board. But what really got it to the next level negative was the movie The Exorcist. And The Exorcist basically scared the living pants off of Americans in the 70s and sent this wave of negativity because she was possessed by the Ouija board. And a priest had to come in and exorcise this spirit out of her. So the Catholic Church then took that and ran with it. And it just spread throughout Christianity that the Ouija board and seances were negative. And yeah, I found that so fascinating, and how powerful, movies can really be. So.
Oh yeah, no, and it hit West Virginia really hard when I'm in a late 80s baby, but we had the Satanic Panic, and it was sort of really big in like the real rural parts of the South. So they were sort of synonymous. The Ouija board was synonymous with Satan. So it was always a very interesting story that I was told, and I never even saw The Exorcist till I was in my late 20s. But you're indoctrinated. So that's the part of, we have to unlearn so many things, because it's not even, it actually probably wasn't even told to anybody. They probably watched it or played on TNT late at night one time, and then it gets stuck in your head.
Yeah. So it's really fascinating that it created this belief system. This movie essentially created this belief system. And now it's, of course, because if you're going into a Ouija board with that intention, or even in subconsciously, of course, those are the results you're going to receive. So, yeah, I think it all goes back to intention when it comes to a Ouija board.
So Ouija board is like a portal that you can take it everywhere. It's a portable thing.
Yes. So it's a game that was founded by this game company in the late 1800s or early 1900s. And later on, Parker Brothers purchased it and is still being created today.
This is very
I just
strange.
want to know, did they get away with it? That's the case, because it was the first case. They were the first. Oh, I killed him because I was possessed. Like,
Yes.
I wonder, they got away with it.
No. Yeah. Oh, yeah. I don't know what the result was of the trial, but that was the excuse. And of course, then you have copycats, right?
Of course.
Hey, he got his. That's what he said. So that's what I'm gonna say.
Right. Asmodeus made me do it. Oh, that's fantastic.
Yeah, I would like to bring like another point of view to this conversation, because I know cases that have ended really badly with that board, like from very close people that don't really know a lot about any of spiritual stuff, let's say so. And my personal idea is that I'm not going to mess around with it, but I think where it all comes into is that whenever you are playing with the spirit world, if you don't know what you are doing, there are always risks.
Mhm.
And it doesn't matter what is the tool that you are using. I don't think it's
Absolutely.
about a cursed
Absolutely.
board. I think it's about doing something that you don't understand what you are doing and not respecting what might come out of it. So you're opening a portal if you don't know how to protect yourself and how to kind of command the negative to stay away and say that only the purest love and light can come in. Then you put yourself always in some sort of risk. And I know there are people who say, yeah, I have played it and nothing happened. But there are people who say like, yeah, some very nasty shit started to happen. So I think it's about what is the vibrational state where you go with into this kind of game. And if you don't know what you do, I recommend you not to play with it.
Absolutely. If you don't know what you're doing, then I really wouldn't get in the fight club ring if you don't know how to fight. Because
Yeah.
like I come from that experience, you know, I'm a classically and formally trained magician, and I have an actual Ouija board that was made by one of the last few pagan countries in the world. And we went through a special blood moon. We did all the special stuff and nothing. Literally nothing. And if anybody's going to conjure something, I'm pretty sure it would have been us. So that's the thing. But that's the thing. I'm not easily intimidated. I'm not easily fooled, and I'm not easily pushed around. So, of course, a trickster, a malicious spirit would not have been able to show up. But that's the thing, is you've got to know, discernment is the most powerful skill spiritually and realistically you can have.
Mhm.
And that's the best thing I'm going to tell people, is just the more you know, the less that people can fool you with. And that's the best thing. But don't go into these things with fear. Don't go into these things with skepticism when you don't know. I'm not going to go and open up a brain and try to do brain surgery when I don't know what the heck I'm doing. I'm going to mess something up.
Yeah.
So it's the same concept. Don't mess with stuff you don't know.
And don't be naive in using them, saying that this is not going to happen to me. I think this is also one of the ways people can connect to that. Oh no, this is not going to, no, be careful, be more cautious when using them. Don't be naive thinking that, oh no, it's not going to happen.
Oh, absolutely. Like, I operate with circles of protection. I have special meteorite stones that are carved by shamans in the mountains. I have secondary people there help. Like, none of these things are done on a whim on a Friday the 13th after 7 shots of tequila by myself. I'm not gonna do Bloody Mary with a Ouija board in my bathroom. I just don't think that's wise.
So we are nearing the end of the episode. So any last words about the subject we have been talking today? Fotini, maybe you want to start.
Well, I was thinking that one of the best things to say is find someone who knows how to do them and then let them, learn from them or let them teach you what they know. So it's very interesting. These are very, very, I think a lot of people have mediumship abilities and they don't know them, or they haven't cultivated them, or they don't, they don't know they have them and they don't know how to use them. So it's good to find someone who's trustworthy and someone who's well known and be trained by people and learn how to put this skill, this ability into service.
Great. How about Christina?
Yeah, I agree. I just think that if you're going into something, communicating with a loved one or a, friend or someone that you know, and you're in that state of mind of because you're missing them or you're coming from that grief state, then it's going to just make things a little more difficult and cloudy for you to be in that same vibration of where they are, because they're not in the same vibration. So if you do have someone who's professionally trained, they're in a different headspace and they can actually get through and get the message to you that you want to hear.
Great. How about Amos?
I'm going to tell everyone to go down both routes. I want everyone to see always a grief counselor. I'm a big advocate of mental health. So I think a certified grief counselor is always going to be the way to go. And to find a spiritualist that is along your philosophical subscription to help you process any of the energy that our Western medicine doesn't usually observe. So, and I always encourage people to take it upon themselves to read some of these information, because all of us are trained from these schools of thought, and your Egyptian Book of the Dead, your Tibetan Book of the Dead. I'm sure there's plenty of other books of the dead out there. I really do recommend them for a heavy read at home. Educate yourself always.
Great. And I would like to say that if you have this kind of abilities, if you feel that you have some kind of medial abilities, a very important thing is to know that there is nothing wrong inside you. It is a very natural thing and you are very gifted. So be happy about that. That can bring a lot of good things in your life. But look for people who already have done that so that they can help you to develop your skills. And if you are not sure what kind of energies are around you, you can always send them a lot of love. And if they stay around, you know that they are good ones, because they cannot stand a vibration of love if they are from a negative perspective, let's say. So just there are practical tools to protect yourself. Learn those, and then after that you can enter this world. If you're a person who doesn't have this kind of skills, you are still very good. There is nothing wrong with you, and maybe those skills will open one day, but don't force anything, because that's not going to help you at all. So let things run naturally. And if you enjoyed this episode, please like and subscribe and tell all your friends about this amazing panel that we are holding every week. I wish we bring you a lot of value. If there are any questions you want to ask, please write comments or you can contact us. And we are here to serve the humanity, to know something more than the Western media tells us. So enjoy your morning, day, or evening, wherever you are. And much love. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye.